Good morning. It is morning while I'm filming this, and I'm feeling dem morning vibes. I feel like I literally drank this cup of coffee in like 3 minutes. I'm like, oh boy, Jess, slow down. You got a whole day ahead of you. Welcome to my channel. My name is Jessica. If you've never been here, welcome in. I have, over the past few years, absolutely fallen in love with a lot of Charlotte Tilbury products. However, there are some products from this brand that I don't necessarily think are worth the price, that maybe you can find better with other brands. Some of them I have dupes for at the drugstore, and in some cases the dupes are actually better in my opinion than the actual Charlotte Tilbury product itself. We're gonna get into all of that today. You're gonna see a lot of these on my face because obviously I'm gonna be putting some makeup on. I don't know why that's obvious. I just like makeup and I want to put it on. Anyway, okay. I can't let myself get derailed in this video because we have a lot of products to get through. So I did an old version of this video like a year or two ago, and looking at it, I've lost a lot of weight since then. I had had my daughter within the past year when I filmed that, I think, and the lighting was weird. Like, I'll link it below, but like, don't watch it though. But I do mention some of these products, but I have a lot more that I'm mentioning today. Okay, so starting with primer, I have two different ones from Charlotte Tilbury that I've tried. I have the Brightening Youth Glow, which is their anti-aging color correcting glow booster. And then I also have their Hollywood Flawless filter. Now this is not necessarily a primer, but that is how I typically use it. But it's really kind of glowy. You could use it as a highlighter as well. Like, there's a lot of different things you can do with this. You can even mix it in with like your foundation and make it glowy. I think I'm gonna put on the Brightening Youth Glow. This is the one I get a lot of questions about because I feel like there's a lot of info on the Flawless filter online. I might also mix this in with something here in a bit. So the Brightening Youth Glow, I do think is fine. I wouldn't buy it again only because I don't notice a big enough like difference in my skin when I'm using it. And so that's kind of my thing. Some people love this and swear by it. Kind of a white cream that blends in. It's got a little bit of glow to it. Supposedly it has anti-aging benefits to it. I don't know that I've noticed huge benefits. It doesn't pill up under makeup. It, adds that light little bit of glow without it being too much, because like you're gonna see in a minute, the Flawless filter definitely has a glow to it, much more so than this does. Definitely some kind of fragrance to it, kind of a perfumey fragrance. So if you don't like that or your skin doesn't react well to fragrance, I would skip this. The Flawless filter, I do feel like you can find very similar at the drugstore that are kind of a hybrid between a primer, a glowy primer, and a highlight. I like to just kind of toss this here when I actually have the time to do this extra step. Just kind of add brightness in those kind of highlighty areas. I don't love the packaging. It's kind of nice at first. When I first opened it, I was like, oh, it makes it easy to apply, but I definitely feel like there's gonna be a ton of product in there as I use this up that I can't access without having to take the stopper out and do all that. So, it is what it is. Of course, Charlotte Tilbury's packaging is like ridiculously gorgeous. So one tip I do have for this is to, if you want to keep that glow on your skin, is to not blend it in too much. I realized early on that if you keep blending and blending and blending, you'll blend away all of it, really. So a product that's not exactly the same but gives a very similar effect is this Essence Fresh and Fit Awake Primer. I'll swatch them next to each other so you can kind of get an idea. There's the Charlotte Tilbury, there's the Essence. You can see the tone is slightly different, but again, they go transparent, and they look so similar. So I'm editing here, and as I'm looking into the Essence Awake Primer, I cannot find it. I think it was discontinued. What a shame. Another dupe for it that is wonderful is from Milani. I'll put a picture on the screen here. That one is so similar. Honestly, I don't have the Milani one because that and the Essence one were so similar. I didn't need to keep both. Now, of course, I'm like, dang it, because anyway, so long story short, the Milani one is another great dupe that you should still be able to get your hands on, whereas the Essence one, it looks like it's gonna be near to impossible to find. All right, foundation-wise, we have a couple of options. I have the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation. I have the shade number 2. Not a perfect shade match. Frankly, it's pretty rare for any of us to find a perfect shade match, right? And then I also have the Light Wonder Youth Boosting Perfect Skin Foundation. I think the idea is that these kind of youthy products like can go really well together. So here's the thing. I've had this one longer than this. Given what I personally like on my skin, I like a light to medium coverage. So I like the Light Wonder more than the Airbrush Flawless Foundation. However, if you know you like medium to full coverage, you definitely like this one more. This definitely has that step up when it comes to coverage and longevity. I also have learned that mixing the Light Wonder with other products makes it really pretty. There's some special quality to this that I feel like when I first had this, I didn't appreciate, but it's like an amped up tinted moisturizer because it definitely has more coverage. I think this is what I want to use today because I don't feel like this gets as much love on the internet as the Airbrush stuff does because the Airbrush stuff is newer. But yeah, I've applied this with my fingers before. I apply it with a sponge sometimes. I'm not big on applying with brushes, so that's just not typically the way I apply most foundations, but I'm just gonna use the sponge today. And I just feel like it gives a really nice amount of coverage. It looks really natural. And what I was saying earlier is when I mix it with other products, I feel like it kind of adds this moisturizing, life-giving quality to it, which I really, really enjoy. And I didn't really notice when I had first tried this the first like few months of having it. I feel like this is one of those foundations I would gladly travel with and feel like my skin looks healthy, but I don't feel like I have a mask on. Does that make sense? And I do think you can build it up a little bit. If you're wondering, because this is a pretty darn good shade match for me, I have the shade number 3. So the closest dupe I can think of at the drugstore is the L'Oreal Age Perfect Serum Foundation. These are very, very similar. I think they're exactly the same? No. I mean, most dupes aren't like dead on, but this is a product I reach for a ton and I really, really like. And it'd kind of be one of those things, if you're not sure you're gonna love this, better to buy a drugstore version first and make sure you like this kind of formula where it's a little bit, it's not super thick. It looks more like skin. I think the L'Oreal one has a little bit more coverage than the Charlotte Tilbury though, so keep that in mind. I also do like that there is SPF of 50 in the L'Oreal product. So both beautiful. These are 2 of my absolute favorites right now, and so I figured I would give the L'Oreal one a mention because I love it. I wear the shade number 15. The only concealer I currently own from Charlotte Tilbury is this corrector, and I really do like it. I will say I have a different product I like more than this that I'll talk about in a second. It's not a drugstore dupe though. It's like a similar price point. I just like it a little bit better, but I really do like this. Like I will use this up. So I have the shade number 1 Fair in the Charlotte Tilbury corrector, and I like to grab a brush. This is just a Sephora concealer brush, and literally tap it into those areas. Sometimes I'll even get it on my finger and place it there so it's a little bit more. Actually, that does do a little bit more coverage, and I feel like I need it on my under eye today. But then I like to tap it in with a brush, and then if I need to, I can go in with a sponge. This is not gonna be like a high coverage, YouTuber triangle type product, but it does a great job. I mean, I have some serious purple and blue to cover, especially on the inner part of in that inner corner area. And I definitely feel like this does a great job covering it. And if you set it with a powder, it really stays and locks in. I think it stays okay without a powder, but it definitely just stays better with one, like any kind of creamy liquid product would. But this is one of those products I like because I can use it really quickly in the morning to kind of make myself look and feel a little more awake without devoting the time to blending out a bunch of concealer, etc. And it blends in really, really quickly. I think it looks nice. Now, the product I like just a little bit better than this, even though price-wise they're similar, is the Bobbi Brown Corrector. It is one of my all-time favorites. I've used one up and repurchased it already. And so when I use this up, inevitably, would I buy it again? Maybe, but probably I would go for the Bobbi Brown one. I will say the Bobbi Brown one does have way more shade options in their range than Charlotte Tilbury does. So speaking of setting this with powder, I do have an amazing dupe that is better than this. This is one of like the most famous Charlotte Tilbury products that like so many people own because it really is great. It's the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. I have it in the shade number 1 Fair. I've hit pan on it long ago. However, I have a drugstore dupe that's $12 that is better. And when I say it's better, I mean, I haven't reached for this in months. Like since I discovered it like 6 months ago, I have only reached for the other product. So let me use this and then I'll grab the dupe and show you. Actually, I happen to also own the Charlotte Tilbury Powder and Sculpt brush. So I'm gonna use this. This is fine, but it's a little bit rough. So keep that in mind. If you don't like rougher brushes, I don't think you'd like this. I do think this powder does a good job of kind of brightening that area a bit, definitely kind of flattening it out over there, you know what I mean? But I wanna show you the dupe, and I'm actually gonna use the dupe on this side because I wanna prove to you how good it is. But you can see that it set the powder. It's still a powder. It's gonna look slightly dry, but it's the least of the offenders when it comes to like dryness on the under eye. Does that make sense? I've used so many powders that really make it look cakey and dry. This one actually does look pretty nice, but let me grab the dupe. So my best dupe is from the brand number 7. You can get it on Target and Walgreens site. And this is the Lift and Illuminate Triple Action Powder. I have it in the shade Light. This is so similar when it comes to like, it's really a finely milled pressed powder. It's brightening, it's blurring, but let me wipe off the powder from that brush. I wanna show you. This does an even better job of like flattening out that area. I can't explain it other than that. So I just feel like looking at them side by side, this just flattens that area so much more. Now, the reality is my under eyes are both different from each other and stuff, but it's so good, you guys. There's a reason I'm like genuinely reaching for this over this all of the time. I do not have a brow product from Charlotte Tilbury. I keep meaning to try one, but I don't, so I'm just gonna throw on my Benefit Ka-Brow and be right back. So if you have a favorite Charlotte Tilbury like brow product, please let me know, because I would love to eventually try one, but I have quite a few Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow loves from over the years, and I know which one I wanna use today, but the one that like really sealed the deal for me, so if you saw my old Charlotte Tilbury video, I tried this quad, and I just didn't love it. A, it wasn't a color story that I wear a lot of, but B, I just wasn't impressed. Given the price you pay for just a quad, they should be really good. And so when I finally tried the Pillow Talk quad, I fell in love to the point where I use this shadow up, and like this is a color story I would wear every single day. I have worn every single day. Well, I found a dupe for this. We're not gonna use this today because I use it all the time on my channel, but I do want to show you the dupe, and then we're going to use something different. So the closest dupe I can find, and the one that I had to go get from my vanity because I'm using it all the time, is from the brand Revolution. It's like their new line or whatever called XX Revolution. You have to buy it online, at least where I live, but it was worth it. This is their Xxposed quad. And if you look at them side by side, I don't think it's an accident that these look so similar. The biggest difference is that like golden one in the dupe here is definitely more golden than this one. In her quads, I think all of them have at least one shadow that's more of like a topper. I've used it a lot with this and it looks really pretty, but it is kind of like an odd choice. I don't know, but I do use it. So this one is more of like an actual like golden shimmery shadow. So that's the biggest difference, but everything else is so similar. I use this all over the lid and then these in the crease and then sometimes this on the lid. I just think it's awesome. I actually think the packaging of this is gorgeous with like this ribbed top and stuff. So had to mention that, even though you have to get it online and I think I had to pay for shipping, which was so frustrating. I hate doing that, but it's an incredible dupe. So another thing I've loved over the years from Charlotte Tilbury are their Eyes to Mesmerize creams. I have Marie Antoinette, which has been a favorite for years. And then I also bought Verushka. You know, I thought I'd get way more use out of this than I have. I think I've used it like twice. Here's the thing. I have not been able to successfully find a dupe when it comes to the formula of this. You can find similar colors to Marie Antoinette, but nothing has been quite the same formula because this is like a really weird, like almost whipped, and it is so pretty. I really love this Marie Antoinette. It's such a pretty taupe color. So I wanted to give this a shout out because when we talk about like a quick look in the morning, just throwing this on the lid and then using a fluffy brush to kind of blend into the crease, it blends easily, it stays well. So I really love this. But what I want to use today is one of the newer products to me, the Charlotte Tilbury Darling palette. I should probably mention that I bought all of these with my own money, by the way. None of these were PR or anything. I think every single thing you see here I bought with my own money. This is a palette I went back and forth with before I bought it because it is warmer and I do like cooler tones as well. But I knew I would use these shadows here so much that I was like, you know what, let's just try it. So I do like it. It's a very similar formula to the quads, but you get a lot more bang for your buck with this. And so that's something to consider. These, like, I don't know if she has more than one of this kind. The look I typically do with this is I love this shade here, this second one in. And so I'll just grab a kind of fluffy brush and throw it all over the lid. Y'all know me, if you have been around my channel for a while, I just do really simple, quick looks. I'm not a makeup artist or anything like that. So whatever I can do to kind of look put together and enhance what I got going on, I'm all for. That's definitely what I'm drawn to. So this is something that's really easy for me to do really quick, simple looks with. I feel like the finished look makes it look like I tried harder than I really did, if that makes sense. So even that alone, I think is pretty. Sometimes we'll even get some on my finger and tap more on. So then I'm gonna grab this kind of this medium warm brown here that's more of a matte. Do have to be a little bit more careful with it because it's got a little bit more color. And if I'm being honest, I typically just use the same brush all the way through. By the way, this is my favorite brush. It's the Delium Tools Golden Triangle 785 tapered blending brush. You can get it for like 10 bucks on Amazon. So I can link it below. I actually need to buy like another one because I literally wash and reuse this one constantly. I've had it for years. It's so soft. It's so good. It's just my favorite. I don't know what it is about it, but I just can't stop using it. That's it, you guys. It's so simple. Now, if I really want to amp it up a little bit more, I'll grab this like almost ivory shade and tap it right on the center of the lid, and it just adds that beautiful glow in the middle. Now, I will say this. If you are someone that is really into like super punchy pigmented shadows, I don't know that Charlotte Tilbury shadows will be for you, because I do think she definitely has more of a vibe of like blended together, almost watercolor-esque, where colors really fade into the neck. So do you know what I'm saying? So I think if you're not into that look, you might not, these shadows might not be for you. So the liner I have is the Pillow Talk eyeliner, and I definitely need to sharpen this. This is one that I enjoy, but I don't find myself reaching for all the time because it is a specific color. So it is a really pretty deep burgundy. And, you know, you see it with these models when she's applying it and you're just like, oh my gosh, which is why I bought it. Of course I got sucked in. I do think it's really pretty. It's just one of those things that I don't reach for every day because of the shade, but the liner itself is a really nice quality. So we're just gonna do a little line on the top. So you can see it's definitely got that really pretty maroon look to it. It's like a brown that pulls purple. Does that make sense? And so since by the way, I've always said that I have brown eyes. My sister-in-law recently told me, she was like, no, you have hazel eyes. And I was like, I think she might be right, but my entire, 31 years of existence, I've always said, like, my driver's license says brown. I don't know. What do y'all think? She might be right. But anyway, I feel like if you have, like, especially like green eyes, this would look really pretty with it. But if you sharpen it well enough, you can get a little wing with it. It's nice and creamy, but it's not too creamy. See, like, looking at this, I'm like, I really should use this more often because it's such a nice liner where it's still dark enough and gives you that defined line you might want, but it's just that thing that's ever so slightly different that makes it really unique. Now, I tried to find a dupe in this, and I tried the NYX one that's a similar color. Let me just show you because it is not a dupe. It's the NYX slide-on eyeliner pencil, which I really like this line, or at least I had over the years, but this shade did not do the trick. This is the NYX one. That's the Charlotte Tilbury one. I was like, okay, yeah, no, they're not dupes. So I have a favorite Charlotte Tilbury mascara, but I don't currently have it. Because mascara, even though I think it is amazing, it's like 30 bucks, and I'm like, I'm not buying it unless it's on sale. But my absolute favorite Charlotte Tilbury mascara is the Legendary Lashes Volume 2 mascara. That is one of the prettiest. It just gives you, similar to what the Lash Paradise gives me, but even better. It's just this gorgeous kind of doe-eyed, velour-looking lash that I adore it, you guys. It is so beautiful. Like I said, though, it's expensive, and with mascara, it goes bad so fast. It's hard to spend that kind of money on that. Now, my closest drugstore dupe to that is the Lash Paradise. I like a very particular lash look. I like that kind of fanned out, pretty, kind of voluminous look, and I feel like this does a very similar thing. Like I said, I do think the Charlotte Tilbury one's a little bit better, but I mean, I repurchased the Lash Paradise like crazy. I absolutely love it. I have a lot of options for like the rest of my face, for blush, bronzer, highlight. So I'm gonna kind of run through what I have and then make some decisions. One of my favorite lines that Charlotte Tilbury makes, because I tend to like cream and liquid blush, bronzer, and highlight, is her little wands that she sells. She sells a lot of different ones now. So I have the contour wand. I used an entire one up. This is a new one. That's how much I liked it. And then I also have a blush. This is the Glowgasm Beauty Light wand. And then this is the Hollywood Beauty Light wand. This is in the shade Pinkgasm, by the way. And then this is in the shade Spotlights. And then I have the fair medium of this. The packaging of this is kind of interesting. People either love it or hate it. I'm undecided at this point, because it can get really messy if you forget to shut it, but it's literally, you squeeze it, comes out into the sponge, and then you can shut it. So that way when you're traveling or whatever, if it's in your makeup bag, it doesn't get everywhere. However, it still gets in the lid everywhere, which drives me crazy. Anyway, these are gorgeous products. This Pinkgasm blush is so pretty. I was just doing a best and worst of all the blushes I own video, and this is one, of course, I talked about that I love. The contour wand is amazing. I just absolutely love this. It blends in so seamlessly to the skin. It can look a little scary at first, if I'm being honest. For me and my skin tone, this is much deeper, but it blends in, you guys, so beautifully. And then the highlight I've loved for a long time as well. Every time I wear this highlight, I feel like I get asked, like, what are you wearing? Like, what is that? It just looks so pretty. 3 of my absolute favorites right there. I might use some of these. However, I have also for years owned the Film Star Bronze and Glow. I'm probably not going to use this today because I've had it for years. I've used it a lot on camera. This is just beautiful. It's a very simple contoury bronzer powder, and then, did I say bronzer? And then the highlight, and the bronzer can look really natural. The highlight catches the light beautifully. I really like like it. The packaging is gorgeous. Don't know that I'm going to necessarily use it today, though. We'll see. And then I also have the new bronzer, which is probably what I'm going to use on camera just so you guys can see it, because I haven't used it on my channel, but I have used it a lot the past month or two that I've had it. And it's a huge pan, like a comically big pan of bronzer, but it is a really nice one. And then I also have this blush. I used to have a different shade. This is the one I have in Love Glow. I bought for the Hilary Duff video I did where she did like her Vogue tutorial, and then I followed it with the products she loves. I can link that above in the eye and down below. It was so much fun to do. But I don't know what shade she had, but she does love this blush. And this is really pretty. It's a little hard to get to show up on my skin tone though. Let's start with the bronzer. Here's my take on this. You're never gonna run out of it. So if you're talking about like, you know, cost per ounce, you're getting a lot for what you're paying for. But I just think bronzer is so easy to find at the drugstore that's really good. Like I like the e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer. That reminds me of this. The new L'Oreal Lumi Bronzer, that one has a little bit of glow to it. Not a lot, but this one really is matte. That one has glow, but that's the one I'm reaching for over this almost every single day. So that's my own taste, but I just feel like bronzer is something you can easily find a good one at the drugstore. But I do recommend with this, you can get kind of heavy-handed with it. So I recommend more of like a dual fiber brush. This is one from EcoTools I've recently fallen in love with. It's their bronzer brush. And it is just amazing at dispersing the product so it doesn't look like too much. So, and you can see it just easily spreads it out because it can look a little warm. I mean, it's a bronzer, so it can definitely create that bronzy look, but if you go too hard, it can look orange depending on your skin tone. But I do feel like it does last really well throughout the day. It definitely adds that bronzy look, but it is still matte. I'll be curious if she ever does a glowy version. I bet she will. Maybe next summer. As if I know. I have no idea. What am I talking about? So yeah, I think it looks nice. I just don't know that I would ever say this is something you absolutely have to have because I don't really feel like it is. Let's do the Pinkgasm blush here because I feel like this is one I actually do get some questions about. So I'm going to apply it with my finger just to the apple of my cheeks. And then we're gonna just blend it in with a sponge, if I can find my sponge. You can, of course, blend it in with your finger as well. Just got that really pretty glow to it. Like, you really don't need a highlighter when you use her, like, and by the way, she calls these her high blushes. And I do feel like you really don't need a highlighter when you use these if you didn't want to. So I do think it is just so pretty. Even this color, like, if you can see this in person, it's almost too pink. I might have even put too much on. It's been a hot minute since I've used it. So I really, really like it. But I think for me, this is not one I like to use a lot during the day because I think it can look pretty the way it catches the light, but it also can look like a lot. So just, do you know what I'm saying? That's just something to be aware of. But I think for like evening times, like going out to dinner, it can look really pretty. For highlight, we'll go ahead and use the highlight wand. I definitely don't need a lot because we already got a lot of glow going on, and I actually need to go to the dentist today. So they're gonna be like, wow, you were rocking that highlight. Like, thank you. Yes, I was. So yeah, I like doing this one with my finger. It's just easy. And I feel like it can blend in pretty seamlessly. You really don't need a lot. Like, this is one of those products that's going to last you a long time. I like to throw a little bit on the brow bone. So yeah, I mean, all in all, Charlotte Tilbury is the queen of like glowy type things. I feel like every video I see of her doing like models makeup, it's always like glowy and shimmery and healthy looking, and I love it. So for lips, I only have one liner of hers right now. This is the Super Size Me liner. I know the Pillow Talk I think I used to have, but I didn't use it very much because it was just a little bit too light for my lips. Honestly, I have slightly pinker lips, but this one is definitely more of a deeper pink. So if you feel like Pillow Talk might be too light for what you like, you might like Super Size Me. These are super creamy. They sharpen easily. I mean, these are nice lip liners. And I do feel like they stay in place pretty well too. Because that's the thing. I feel like with creamy liners, sometimes if it's too creamy, it doesn't stay in place as well. You know what I mean? So that is Super Size Me. I like these. I could see myself one day buying another shade. I don't really need one right now, but it is a line I genuinely think is really nice. And I haven't really found like an exact drugstore dupe for this. So the only lipstick I currently own from her is the lipstick in the shade In Love with Olivia. It's one of the ones that had like kind of cool packaging. I have to admit, I don't reach for this a lot, really because of quarantine, and then I had Invisalign. Lipstick with Invisalign is kind of hard. So many reasons why I haven't, but now that my Invisalign is just about done, I don't have it in right now. I might at least wear lipstick a little bit more. Well, we'll see with masks. Anyway, this shade is totally one that I love, and this is a really creamy, almost moisturizing formula. Ugh, I just feel like it looks healthy on the lips. It's comfortable. It's a color I would wear every single day. So I really, really like this. So that is everything. I have decluttered some Charlotte Tilbury products over the past year or two. Ones that I just wasn't using, like certain shades of a lipstick. I had glosses from her I wasn't really using or enjoying. I ended up passing on to a sister. So there aren't a ton of huge misses in the line, which I appreciate. I appreciate that there's not too many releases at any one time because, you know, even with expensive brands, when they do that, it instantly, to me, I feel like kind of cheapens it in a way because you feel like, well, how much work could they possibly be doing toward these launches if they're launching so many things at a time? And I appreciate that Charlotte Tilbury, I feel like the brand takes their time with their launches and really thinks through stuff that they're creating. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. Hopefully you found some great dupes that you might be able to try out if you want to save the money. If you did enjoy, I hope that you will subscribe and join our happy little corner of the internet. I upload 3 times a week. I do makeup, but I also do vlogs and lifestyle stuff, cooking. And I'd love to say hey to you on my Instagram. It is @itsjessicabraun, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.